Hello. All right. Yeah. Hello again. I tried doing this yesterday and it didn't work very well. So we're trying again. That's what we're doing. So this is going to be me working on my webcomic Age of Night, chapter 24, page 3. I have my little and my script sitting just underneath it. I'm not going to show you the script because that's spoilery. So what I am going to do though is I am starting with a totally blank. I don't even have any panel borders on this yet. So that's what we have to do is start with some panel borders. I have my ruler here. And I'm going to start putting on first just the basic outline of my page, which I'm using an 11 by 17 piece of paper. So that's like 2 regular letter size pieces of paper, but they're called tabloid size. But the live area for a comic page is 10 inches by 15 inches. So first I have to mark out the 10, so that's ½ inch off either side. Mark it on the top. And I mark it on the bottom. And then I connect those lines. I find a good way to do this. I had to move stuff around. Turn. There we go. Okay. I had to move stuff around to make this work better. Do I write my own script? I sure do. I write and draw the whole comic. Thank you for the question, Mike. Let me just explain what I'm doing here real quick. So since it's a 10 by 15 live area and this is an 11 by 17 piece of paper, I need to mark 1 inch in on the top and on the bottom along that ½ inch. See what I'm doing? I think I marked 16. Yeah. But yes, I do write my own script. I don't write it as thoroughly as you usually see comic scripts written in like it's not like up to the regular comic script standard where you have like specific panel or page breakdowns and like a lot of direction of what the characters are doing. I kind of just leave that all to myself to do later. I just kind of write down like base directions of if characters are taking any specific actions and then dialogue. And then I just let myself play around the layout phase and figure out what I want them to be doing at that point. All right, so now I have the outline of my page. It's a great big box. I eventually go up on the top here and just mark what it is for chapter and page. So chapter 24. This is page 3 that I'm working on. This is several pages ahead of where I'm at online at this point. I like to leave myself a little bit of a buffer if I can. Labels are good for if I have a bunch of these lying around on my desk all disorganized or in a drawer somewhere disorganized, and I want to make sure that I know which page it is and I don't get confused. So now I'm going to look at my thumbnail, which shows more or less the way the page is broken down. These little thumbnails, each one of them is actually in the same proportion of 2 to 3, same aspect ratio. 2 by 3. It's 2 inches by 3 inches, whereas the 10 by 15 is also a 2 by 3 aspect ratio. So the thing about that is, as long as you make sure that these are printed at the right size, in the right proportion, and they don't get distorted, is that you can measure them and with some figure out where those panel breakdowns are going to be on your large piece. So right here, this big kind of not quite halfway. So halfway would be 1.5, which is right there. So it's a little more than I could figure out exactly what it is if I wanted. I don't care to figure out exactly where it is. I will say a little more than a half and call that good enough. I could, though, with math if I really wanted to, but I don't. Half on 15 would be 7.5. It was just a little more, so we'll go ahead and just call that 8. I'm going to say that's close enough. And I'll do the same thing, making lines on either side. I will read your comment in just a second, Mike. I just wanted to do this. It says, working with my brother on a short horror book, and he never finished writing the last 3 pages. Oh, no! So I have to finish the writing, which isn't a problem. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and you have to try to copy his style. That is really hard. It's really hard to copy somebody else's style. People who are good at copying other styles, that's a very specific skill set itself. That is not an easy thing to do. So I line up those marks from either side and get my parallel lines. Yes, you can do this with a T-square. Yes, doing it with a T-square is the recommended way to do it. But that assumes that the edge of my drawing board is at 90 degrees and or the edge of my paper is also straight and or my T-square is actually straight and has not warped over time. I don't trust any of those things to be true, and they're big and unwieldy, so I just do it this way. I'm not going to say that it works perfectly, but I find T-squares so frustrating that I just don't. Just don't with them. All right, so looking at this again, we've got just a hair less than half, because remember this is 2 inches across, 1 inch would be halfway, so this big panel here is almost a quarter of the page. It's a little less than halfway over there. So up here, 5 would be half. I'm going to call it, put that gutter between 4.5 and 4 3/4. Do the same down here and connect them. Yes, I did also have a creative partner for this project very, very early on in the concept development. And it would not be the same story that it is without his input, but once I started actually working on the comic, he kind of fell out of the project, and shortly thereafter our lives went in wildly different directions. So it was just kind of like, yeah, well, he's still listed as creative contribution because his input was absolutely invaluable for the development of the story, but that was pretty much the end of that. Let's see, this is 8 inches, so I'm going to do 2.5. And then 1, 2.5. What'll that make the middle one? About 2 1/4. I think it's a lot, the math on thirds is a lot more squashy. Because I'm not a robot, so I have a hard time with those. With things that are divided typically into like halves and quarters, and it's like, no, quick, do a third. That's really difficult. We'll do 2.5 here. And then 1, 2. Do that. I'll mark that on my there so I don't forget where I did that. The nice thing about the stainless steel ruler is that I can mark on it in pencil and just get right on. It's fine. All right, and we finish connecting those panels. Oh, and there's one more panel I have to make. There's an inset panel as well. I usually do this stuff ahead of the stream because I find it a little bit boring, but you know, it also sometimes I just also want to go over it because if you haven't seen me do it before, it can be good information. So, all right, so there's one little inset panel and this great big one down at the bottom here. So this little skinny inset panel, it's like, that's like a quarter of the page and over. Okay. And I do have a Twitter. It is at ageofnight.com. So that's at AGEOFNIGHT. And I'm on Twitter a lot these days on account of I spend all day doing remote school with my children. And a lot of the time I basically just have to sit there and babysit them and make sure that they're doing their work. And I don't really have to do anything, but I also can't really do anything else. I just kind of have to sit there and keep reminding them they have to actually be doing stuff. And they're in like elementary school, so it's not like I really have to pay attention to what their lessons are. I did elementary school a very long time ago. So I've been somewhat hyperactive on Twitter lately. Just because. Oh, let's see. I want to scoot that down a little bit to make that more even. All right. Awesome. Thank you. I'll have to, when I'm done with the stream, I'll have to hop on there and follow you back. All right. So now I have all of my panels all nice and laid out in pencil, and I am going to go over them in ink. For panel border, I like to use the Faber-Castell Pitt pen in size medium. It gives a really nice, bold, consistent line. I do go over it like twice. I have one line right next to each other. All right. I just work my way down the page there. The Pentel roller. No, I haven't. I have not one. I may have to give that a shot. Is that like a ballpoint, or it sounds like it would be? I may have to check that out next time I make an order of pens and things. So the metal ruler, the top is very slick. The bottom actually has a backing of cork to help hold it in place. I'll show it to you in a second. I realized I want this bottom panel to be an open panel, so I'm not going to put that other line there. I'm not going to put these other lines around the outside, because this will be an open panel that just kind of bleeds out to the edge. I'll have to try that out next time I make like a Blick or a Jet Pens order. So I decided I want that to be a full bleed panel, so I'm not going to add any more any borders there, and just finish these ones. Okay, now in the other direction. Oh yeah, the cork back on, which has seen better days because I've had this ruler for many, many, many years now. But that's what helps keep it from sliding around. Like, it'll slide if you're not putting any pressure on it, but as soon as you start putting in a little bit of pressure on it, it helps keep it right in place. I love this little 18-inch ruler because it's easy to use and the cork works really well on it. And sometimes I need to use like a great big 36-inch ruler for certain like perspective situations. And every time I have to use my giant 36-inch ruler, I get really upset because it does not have a cork backing. It's still stainless steel. So I go to, and I get it just lined up just so. And I like breathe on it and it slides out of place and I get very irritated. I should invest in one nice cork backing or just like get some adhesive cork. That would be smart since I already have a perfectly good 36-inch ruler. So the basic premise of Age of Night, it's a fantasy story, and it's about a group of friends that are on a quest to free one of them from a reincarnation cycle that has made him a slave to the church in their universe. So their friend, Drake, he's the avatar of the god of night. He's stuck in this reincarnation cycle. He's constantly reborn and just used by the church in their world is called the Covenant, Covenant of Mandra. And he's basically just like a tool for them. And he wants to get away from this. He doesn't want to be reborn and have this happen again. So, of course, in order to do this, they have to go on like an epic quest. And lots of people want to stop them for various reasons. And another one of the main characters is like a mage. She uses magic. Another one of the main characters is like this assassin ninja type guy who is a really excellent fighter, but maybe a slightly less emotionally developed human being. And another one is a thief. And yeah, that's the basic idea. It's a quest narrative. Lots of exploring like magic and spirituality and like the nature of power. And it's not all deathly serious either. Like these people are human beings. So even the one who's the avatar of the god of night, oh yes, also he's currently stuck in the body of a house cat. You'll see him here in a minute as I start drawing. I buried the lead on that one. One of the main characters is a talking cat. He's not really. He's a guy. He's just stuck looking like a cat for like most of the story. I'm going to erase all the little lines on the sides here. His little pencil lines. In the areas where I did not need them more. I'm going to make those go away before I proceed. Putting that big one that I didn't need. Yeah, so it's got a lot of like really serious and dramatic moments and stuff, but it's not grim dark by any means. There's a lot of humor and lightheartedness, and I think like tonally you could probably compare it to a show like Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's like there's a lot of goofiness, there's a lot of them kind of messing around, but there's also a lot of very seriousness stuff going on because they are dealing with very serious issues. And also asked a lot about rating because people are, I don't know what it is. I think they just see that I'm a woman and they don't see any like boobs or like monsters on the cover and they assume it must be for children. It's not. Like, I wouldn't recommend anyone under the age of like 10 or 12 reading it. Partially they'd just be bored. Like, it's just not. Oh, hey, I'm 10 years old and I want to read a fantasy epic about contemplating the nature of the soul and power is and our place in the grim cosmos. Like, I might have been into it when I was 10, but most 10-year-olds are not. So, all right, I have all my panel borders, and now I have to start drawing. So I'm going to start with this first panel here. I actually, I figure out where my word balloons go because I do have my little script. I'm going to sneak in and shut the camera here. I have my script, and I mark in the thumbnail stage, I mark where I think those word balloons are going to go, so that I'm sure to leave room for them in the drawing, which doesn't always work 100%, but I try. So I also like to put those in pretty much right off when I'm drawing. So I keep on glancing over at my script to make sure that I'm leaving enough space for what's supposed to fit in each one of these. And that way, so I know that I have in this first panel, I've got 3 word balloons. I think that's more or less the right size they're going to be. I might need to tweak it later. But that way I can put in my figures, start roughing in my figures, and know that none of the speech balloons are going to be covering anything important that they're doing. So not covering up any faces, not covering up any important gestures or actions. So I've got a face here, and this word balloon is pretty well above where his face is. So if I do need a little more space, I've got a little bit of space to play with. Same thing with this one and this one here. I've got some room in case it turns out that that is not enough space. And if it ends up smaller, it's fine. Fine. Got another character hanging out back here. And hey, look, there's a little face down here, way down lower. And it's got ears. Yep, that's the cat. That's the cat character. Oh wait, no, his tail shouldn't be up. Given what he's talking about, he should have more of like a meh type. More of like a meh, I'm just here type gesture. Another fairly decent sized word balloon here. Another cat face. I'm going to figure out where everything is going to fit. And then after I get everything fit on here, I go through and I refine each panel down. So first, I'm just kind of, you know what, I'm looking at this word balloon and I do not like where it is because I want to put, I see that I don't think the space I allowed in my thumbnail was actually enough. So I'm going to scooch that over a little bit so that I can get that in here and not worry about losing anything important. It's always so hard trying to figure out like how to shoot how to compose individual panels that Drake, the cat character Drake, and anyone else is in, because he comes up to like their knees. So if he can't be like perched on something or they can't be sitting down next to him, it's just like, all right, how many weird low angles or high angles do I have to do to get this to work? These are all fairly small word balloons here. Big old cat face. Close up emotional reaction. Kind of looking on his shoulder here. I need a little more space. This is kind of a very talky page. Not much other than talking is happening here. Yeah, that'll fit. Which is part of why I did this page, because I can mask the word balloons later, so you won't see what they're talking about when I come back and do this on another stream for like doing the inking. If I do that, but sometimes like just the things people are doing are spoilers. So I like if they're just talking though and you can't read the word balloons, probably not spoilery. You probably can't figure it out unless you're like really, really good at guessing stuff. Really, really good at context clues. All right, so we need a bunch of word balloons here. There is very, very, very much talking on this page. So much talking as needs to happen. The last chapter, chapter 23, was just like so much action. It was a ridiculously long chapter. I think the final page count was like 35 pages. Ridiculously long chapter, and it was like almost all action, and it just about killed me. I somehow survived making that chapter. I don't know how. All right, you need to move over. You are too close. Your head is this close to this panel border. Your half of your body is going to be in underneath that panel, and we don't want that. So you need to scooch out a little bit. Oh, let's see. These characters are almost equal height. I think Thel is like a hair taller than Constance. What is that line? What is that line doing? All right, talking. A little more talking. We've got just a little bit more over here. Yes, that works fine. All right. Okay, so now we've got everything roughed in. Got our panel borders on. We've got everything roughed. Super duper roughed. It's not even what qualify as a rough by like production standards, but everything's blocked in. We are about 30 minutes in. Nice. All right, so usually, where's my pencil sharpener? My pencil sharpener has gone missing. No, I'm thinking about it. I think I left it somewhere foolish. Okay. We'll just have to make do. Whoop. Thinking about it, I think I left it somewhere foolish. I'm just gonna have to make do for right now, or I'm gonna have to find my backup pencil sharpener. My try not to fall. My entire studio situation is a disaster currently. So I usually have another pencil sharpener in here, but I don't see it. Oh, my word. I think the universe is me. can't even find my backup pencil sharpener. I get to see all my little boxes. Aha! Ha 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 ha. Backup pencil sharpener has been acquired. Okay. Some like pencil sharpening ASMR. There you go. Yeah. Sorry. My studio situation is currently a disaster. So when I can't find something, it's not like, oh yeah, it must be over in this other place. It is like, no, it is gone. It has been lost to time and space. So we'll start refining. That eye needs to move over. That's way too far over. It's always like trying to strike a balance between somewhat human features and cat features for Drake. You should definitely be able to see a little bit of both, but sometimes it goes way too far in one direction or the other. It's like, no, he has to look something like a cat, not just like a person with a weird cat nose. And sometimes I'll find that I kind of clean up the underdrawing as I go. And sometimes I'll find that the underdrawing was where I roughed it in is not really doing what I need it to do, or the proportions were all wonky, which is fine. It's just kind of hold a place. So if they are a little wonky, then we'll just fix them. Got Drake's highly unimpressed face here. And his big fuzzy tail. Which, get back here. Which again is not something I sweat way too much detail on, because a lot of the I try to get the basic shape and attitude, because I'm not going to worry about every little hair, because that's going to come out in the inking. All right, so there's Drake. Now we're going to start refining Del and Constance up here. So I start putting some meat on these little skeletons that I've made. Possibly adjusting their little skeleton poses if I see that they are not actually doing what they need to be doing. Right. Getting some of those basic shapes for his face in there, and now I'm gonna refine that a little. Now I have some more pencil sharpening ASMR. I don't know if that's. I don't actually know anything about ASMR. I don't know if that's working. It's like when I'm just roughing in, a pencil can be awful dull, but as soon as I start doing details, it's got to be pretty sharp. I want to be able to keep doing this. So, along with my studio setup being in a shambles, I had to keep moving around the filming setup. I feel like the lighting's working a lot better now than it has recently. But let me know if you feel the same way, if you think this is working or if you think this is too much, not enough. Let me know. I know last week it was pretty bad, but by the time I started streaming, I was like, oh, this is too late now. Get the beard. Phil's got to have his beard. Even if it's a more trim and respectable beard now than it once was. Got pretty out of control there for a while, but he got a little bit of a haircut. A studio tour, man. Oh, I'm sensitive about that right now. No, so I actually have a studio building, was where I was set up, and I was getting it really like it was kind of a storage building. I was slowly working out from my little corner that was nice and studio set up, and slowly get everything like more organized, more nice and set up. And we had to move my husband out of the house and do what was my studio because he went back to work in the plague pit in public school. So I lost my studio space, and it's now his bachelor pad for the duration. And my studio, the corner of my bedroom. So I have a curtain up behind the little studio area so that when I'm like on camera for like a game stream or something or a meeting, in piles of laundry. Yeah, someday I'll get to go back to my actual studio, and then I would really love to give a studio tour because it's a darn cute building, and I was getting it really nicely put together. And like the back room that was still mostly storage, I was kind of like setting up a little library. It's going to be real nice. It will be again today, just not super duper soon as we deal with all of the plague nonsense. So there is his arm. Let me get this hand gesture just so of him like crossing his arms, so he's kind of got his and holding onto his arm on the side there as he has them crossed. Where did his other arm go? I lost my little skeleton form for his other arm. There we go. I need to fix that finger because that's now not just disappearing into the side of his arm doing anything. Yeah, it's just kind of life as a small time artist. It's like I may be a working professional, but I still have a lot of a lot of struggles sometimes. I have had various points where I've had, the nice studio building, I've had studio room in whatever apartment I'm in, but very frequently my studio has been the corner of the living room or the corner of my bedroom. That is, such is life. I will eventually get back to having my nice studio space. Eventually. There's a border on this tunic here. I'm still getting used to drawing this outfit. Phil changed his outfit not that long ago. It's only been a couple of chapters of drawing him this way after years and years of drawing him the way that he used to be, that he used to dress. So it's confusing. What is going on here? I say to myself very frequently when I draw things. What is happening? What is happening here? That's much looser. That line coming from there indicates a much looser fit of pants than I really intended it to be. It's a little better. His little furry topped boots. And because he's got swords on his back all the time. Like you do when you're convinced everybody's out to get you. All right, back here. Constance kind of smugly watching their exchange, not contributing quite yet. She's waiting for the opportune moment. Oh, I need to sharpen my nubby little pencil again. That's getting pretty small. I think I have my pencil extender. So I try to use these down to the last little bit because these things are not cheap. Let's see, we're at 8:45. All right, we're getting there. Getting close to the end here. Usually do these streams for about an hour so that we can all go do other things. Yeah, I don't want you to feel like you're trapped here forever. I don't want to be trapped here forever. It's good to get up and stretch. Okay. Constant center. Very prominent facial scars here. Her wavy hair. Oh, hey, it's Jay. It's cool to see the process. Wish I had a section set up for my crafting. Sort of. Yeah, yes. You don't want to know what's happening outside of frame here, as I was just discussing earlier. Since I moved back into my bedroom for my studio space, it's bad news out of frame. Let me tell you. Not that my studio was ever super neat or tidy. I try to keep just my the actual space I'm working in fairly neat and tidy, but everything outside of that immediate area just chaos, pure chaos. Clean up a little bit more of this under drawing. She's kind of way too skinny. Most people that you'd see and you'd be like, wow, you are just like skin and bones. Fix the shape of her neck there a little bit. Which the YouTube view is mirrored, so it always I try to adjust so that I'm in frame and I move the wrong way because it doesn't. It's not going the way I expect it to. Or I should say, it's not mirrored. It's backward. I don't. It looks backwards to me. Like up here, the letters look backwards. I guess that's mirrored. I don't know. I get confused. It confuses me. It does not what I expect it to do, and it confuses me. Just leave it at that. Her low bundle of hair back there. Yeah, she finds this whole exchange hilarious, very smug. Let's see, and a little bit of a roof line back here, because this is taking place in a space where buildings exist. They're not super important other than to just establish that yes, this is taking place in an actual place. They're not just floating in the void, so I'm not going to sweat actual perspective. I'm just going to go, yep, there's some buildings back there. They sure do exist. Ta-da. All right, we're at 51 minutes, so I will go over all the things. All of the things while I work on this last panel. So, I am Amanda Call. You're watching me work on a page for an upcoming page for my webcomic, Age of Night. It updates every week on Wednesday nights. So a little later this evening, go and check, and there will be a new comic page. Not this comic page. This comic page is still going to take a lot of work. But a new one. Yeah, so go check it out at ageofnight.com. That's AGEOFNIGHT. You can also support my work on Patreon, in which case you get, so whatever posts this week, my patrons already got to see last week. Tonight, they'll get to see the page that everybody else will get to see next week. That is a shocked kitty face right there. Push it a little more. Make those eyeballs even. Rounder. Push that expression. You can follow me on Twitter at Age of Night, spelled the same way as the comic. You can find me on Instagram at Amanda Call Art. That's just my name, followed by ART, just like the YouTube channel. And speaking of, if you're new here, then subscribe, like the video, and tell people about it so that you can see when I do another one of these streams. I try to do live streams every week, and other video uploads as I can. Besides that, so yeah, I think that's basically because no appearances in general, no conventions for the foreseeable. Someday we will all get to do this again. Until then, we'll just have to hang out on YouTube. Aw, kitty face. All right, I think that's as far as I'm going to get this evening. So I started with a completely blank piece of paper. I put on all of my panel borders, and I roughed everything in so I know where all my word balloons and my figures are going to go on this page. And I got a panel into half-ish finished for pencils, so that's super. Yeah, I gotta like turn my wrist sideways. That's super. Yay. So yeah, I thank everybody for hanging out and leaving comments, and hopefully I will see you next time. Bye.